Hello there, and welcome back to Dr. Robotnik's Ring Races. Today, I competed in the Flash Cup, the 22nd cup in the game, but before we begin, I need to quickly show something off. NTV OSC, you keep telling me to imagine not having the best Sonic character found in the top right corner of the character select. Well, I no longer need to because, check this out. Unlocked him during a stream right alongside Gutbuster. I disagree that he's the best Sonic character because that's a different robot that I need to play another racing game to see, but you can't say I haven't got him. Now, let's get to racing. Espresso Lane was not built for class-size super heavyweights like Mecha Sonic. The whole course is made of tiny, little, narrow roads with lots of twists and turns, and no matter how you go about it, your bulky and metallic frame is not making it around the bend without going into the off-road or bumping into a barrier. With that said, I think I did an alright job with the situation I was given until the midpoint of lap 2, where Knuckles flew past me and gained a massive lead. It took a long time and a few tripwire shortcuts to catch up to him, and if it wasn't for another sneaker allowing me to pass another tripwire and jump over him, there's a fair chance he might have won the race. As it was, the most memorable event of the race was a pop-up saying I'd made a Discord connection. First time that's ever appeared, so I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. Melty Manor looked like it was going to go well. Until everything went sideways in the second lap. First lap went fantastic, as a first blood boost and AI infighting left most of the competition trailing behind. Knuckles did overtake me right as I began the second lap, and I mean that he overtook me on the line, to the point that I don't know who actually crossed it first. And there were a few problems with ring supplies in the opening section and Manor Gardens, but it was upon re-entering the mansion that I got my ass handed to me. First a drop target, strong enough to send me reeling backwards and facing the wrong way, then a direct hit by a flame shield, and then, just to confirm my position as a trailing waste of space in 8th, a final drop target at maximum power, leaving a gargantuan void between me and 7th that I needed to find a way to overcome. I spent the third lap desperately trying to catch up, and I actually did, but in the chaos of the final stretch, Metal Sonic, Big, and Knuckles all managed to squeeze past me. Chaos Seraph is an intimidating name to give a prison break arena, and indeed, at first glance, with the disjointed layout and all of the landmines, it can look pretty dangerous. It's all a facade, though. The way that the arena is laid out means you're just repeating the same set of actions 6 times over. Avoiding the landmines is incredibly easy, and if you use spin dashes to get to and from the inner and outer platforms, you shouldn't lose much time getting between them. I did the whole thing with a single gacha bomb, and with a ton of time remaining. Turns out it was actually pretty boring. Leaf Storm is a 3-lap course that really feels like it's supposed to last for 5. If Ring Racers wants to make me suffer on Vice Waterway for 5 laps, then I see no reason why a course that feels just as short yet is twice as good should barely pass the 2-minute mark on a casual Gear 2 Grand Prix run. Anyway, things went sideways when I went sideways, as a few misinputs caused me to drift the wrong direction into a tripwire and let several racers overtake. That might have been beneficial in the long run though, because the game ended up gifting me a bubble shield to catch up with, and I finally came to understand how it works. Turns out, a bubble shield is really good on a course that expects you to be fast falling constantly to trigger voltage drops, because it meant that I got the speed boost for one and kept the voltage effect for later. That helped me bounce from 4th to 1st with a significant lead, but I saw Metal Sonic, who had somehow beaten out Knuckles to become my rival, thundering up from behind. He nearly overtook me on the final bungee vine, but somehow his proximity mine blew up without damaging me, and he fell into the pit below. I sighed with relief, before witnessing, in abject horror, him flying ahead to respawn inches away from the finish line. Luckily, he couldn't do anything until I passed, but those brief few seconds nearly gave me a heart attack. For a fairly simple course, my first attempt at Lake Margarite was disastrous. There comes a point in every cup where the AI has a chance to lock in. The training wheels come off, and you're exposed to the raw, unadulterated raids of the machine. Of course, They get better throughout the cup no matter what, but sometimes there comes a race where they just give up at pretending they're not cheating and flaunt all of their infinite rings and broken item roulettes right to your face. That put me into a bad spot during the first lap, especially after Knuckles caught me in the blast of his egg mark right over a pit. Then a lack of rings and less than fantastic items put me in a bad spot when every other racer was a full half a lap or more ahead of me. I finally got some luck in the third lap, but I messed up my opportunities by flying into the air and landing in pits over and over again, landing me in an ignoble 6th. A second attempt went far more smoothly, with no runaway garden tops to kill my chances. My restart had satiated the AI's bloodlust, and while they still weren't pushovers, they had at least turned off their aimbot protocols and were a little more subtle about the impossible number of rings they were using. Ring supplies were still an issue for me, but a better understanding of the course layout and no nasty tricks meant that I was able to stay competitive, ultimately coming in second after Metal Sonic ring boosted ahead of me. Toy Kingdom is a fun place to be. I got off a few solid trick shots of varying intentionality, such as this one bounced off a ceiling and this one when I wasn't looking. But as is often the case, hyperfixation on a specific prison cost me dearly. In this case, it was trying to hit this prison. I was probably supposed to drive off the platform and hit the thing as I fell, which I failed to do. And my time spent attempting other strategies meant I had no time left to collect the other remaining prison, so I ended up finishing with a B rank. Endless Mine 2 was the climactic final race, and in theory, this was where the AI was supposed to be at their most devilishly insufferable. But they just weren't, for some reason. I think these rocks confused them, as they did seem to be going very slowly in the areas just after they appear on straights, but that doesn't usually stop them on Endless Mine 1. Whatever the case was, my good driving certainly helped, as even when I saw the AI in front of me keep up a ring boost for a solid 6 seconds on 2 separate occasions, I was able to keep pace with good routing. This starting area can be dealt with by just bombing forward without turning, although a solid strategy that the AI used to achieve similar times through it was to just kill themselves and respawn at the top of the wall. That must also work. Make sure to drift here and you'll fly past the AI, especially if you have an item on hand to attack them, and then you can practice slip tiding on this final spiral ascent to decent effect. Put it all together and just like me, you can achieve a perfect round against what should be AI of considerable skill. Because the Flask Cup is on the lower tier of cups, entering a sealed star on it doesn't result in chasing down a Chaos Emerald. Instead, you're sent to find and release a Super Emerald, in a track that tests your ability with a single specific mechanic. These, for the most part, are significantly harder than the sealed stars up to Fountain, with far less of a chance that you might just get lucky and blunder through on your first attempt. They require practice and experience with the star's layout, to know when to push the UFO catcher and when to let it pull ahead, to know what items to go for, and to know how to even proceed forward in some cases. With all that said, the first of this new bat's gallery is possibly one of the easiest sealed stars in the game. The mechanic that it tests you on is lobbing, giving you 4 Gatsa bombs at the start that you need to ration to both attack the UFO catcher and hit targets to unlock the path forward. Simply put, take one attempt to figure out what each target does and how it allows you to progress, then go for broke. My advice is to watch out for the tethering effect, because in my experience, if it's visible, it means the UFO catcher is in range, and the hitbox of the Gatsa bombs is so generous that as long as you're looking vaguely in the right direction, it'll count as a hit. Do that at every single opportunity presented, and you'll destroy the catcher in time to use the long straight at the end of the star to collect the Super Emerald, and with Gatsa bombs to spare. I already had collected it on the SPB Cup during a stream, but take this footage as a tutorial. With the Super Emerald collected in only 3 attempts, even my spotty performance throughout the Flask Cup meant that I was only 14 points away from an S rank. Unfortunately, with no CDs dropping during the Prison Break rounds and the next cup already unlocked, I only ended up completing a single challenge. Getting gold on the Flask Cup rewarded me with a dove as a follower. It's not that exciting, but when I'm only 19% away from 100% completion, every little thing counts. Besides, the greater reward was revealing the criteria of a few other challenges which I'm sure to complete over the next few streams. I hear that multiple characters can be unlocked on this cup alone, so that should be pretty exciting. Anyway, the next episode will be on the Swap Cup, so until then, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and ciao.